right, intro time.
Good luck.
Happy Festivus, and thank you for joining Beardy and the Beast Media Club for a very special time of year and a very special full spoiler podcast. We'll let you know directly that there are spoilers inbound. If you're feeling giving at this time of year, please consider gifting us a subscribe or a like, or checking out beardyandthebeast.com for a full list of services we're available on. My name is Drew, and as always, we rescued him from a trunk of a sinking car, Devin.
Yeah, okay, that works.
Joining us is a very talented writer, filmmaker, festival host, and distressing damsel, Ashley Good.
Distressing damsel, that's a new one. I love when I'm on this show because I always get called something else, and it's never threatening. It's never like a weird sexual thing. It's a new nickname I've never gotten before, so thank you.
Well, you haven't heard the rest of the intro yet, so reserve your judgment. Where can you be found, Ashley?
I can be found in Alberta now. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a creative break for one more month, just so I don't go fully insane with burnout. But if anybody wants to support my art, they can buy a book. They're all on Amazon. Just look up Ashley Good, and I am not the one that sells the multi-level marketing scam books. I am the other Ashley Good.
Sounds good. And I assume all that information I'll put in the description unless I'm terrible at my job. So,
in which case, you can also follow me on YouTube.
So today we'll be discussing 2005's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So Ashley, did you hook up with this one, or did you hook up with its best friend?
Man, we should have had more banter beforehand. My brain is just not... Okay, Drew, you look up a definition of idiot, you know what you're gonna find.
Wait, are we insulting me now?
It's from the movie. You reference the movie, I reference the movie. It's a back and forth thing. It's a podcast. We have a rapport.
I half expected his response to be a picture of Devin.
Yeah, see, and
no, of course you're gonna find the description of idiot.
No, I absolutely love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang though, and I'm so happy you invited me on the pod to discuss it because, as you know, it is my favorite movie.
I'm pretty sure we would have been murdered if we didn't, and not gonna lie, consider doing it just so you see how quickly we can get you to call us assholes.
You already did Little Shop of Horrors without me.
That was not on your list of movies that we could do without you.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't give you an official list. I'll make one.
You did give us an official list, and this was the third one there. Hence, you're here for our Christmas special. Merry Christmas, Ashley. Don't say I never got you anything.
You guys have to be nice. I just left Vancouver Island. I'm recovering from a lot of trauma, and I'm in a fragile state right now. So I have to toughen up, and... I
think you mean province? This is Canada? What's the actor? What's the primary actor of this movie?
Robert Downey Jr.
There we go.
But Robert Downey Jr., I mean, come on, 2005 Robert Downey Jr., newly sober, he still has that slight crackhead energy. He was made for this role. This was his first comeback after his whole rehab thing too, right? What did he do? Yeah. He did a bunch of crack and waved a gun at somebody, as one does. I mean, again, I moved from Victoria. I'm very familiar with that sort of...
Yeah, only Baldwins get away with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that he came back in such a nice guy role during like the beginning phase of the nice guy phenomenon. Let me paint a picture for you here.
Yeah.
A guy hounding after a girl who treats him as a friend, never hooks up with him, always kind of keeps him in reserve without making any moves. He feels like he deserves her attention. He keeps trying, nicer and nicer and nicer. And then he ends up shooting a bunch of people.
Oh, to borrow a Victoria term, it is a very problematic movie if you'd like to watch it that way.
No, this was a highly entertaining movie.
Okay, so if you want to just jump right into it, the scene where he finds, oh my goodness, what's the character's name? I've watched this movie so many times. Harmony. When he finds, it wasn't Harmony passed out, he finds the other woman passed out at the party. And he's going to be the good guy. He's like, oh, passed out woman, I'll be nice. I won't rape her. Then that other guy walks in and he's like, don't you rape her. I was good enough to not do it. You better not do it either. And he gives this big speech. Then he gets punched in the face. And then the prospective rapist and the woman still leave the party together. I was like, what's supposed to be the takeaway from that scene? I wasn't quite sure if Shane Black was actually the writer, was making fun of the nice guy trope, or if he was projecting himself into Robert Downey Jr. Because, I mean, Shane Black has his own weird history with stuff.
Much like E.T., they're showing what Hollywood's actually about.
Thank you for plugging my tinfoil hat theory. I appreciate you, Devin.
I got you.
Here's the thing. I think it might be satirizing tropes in a good way. There was a lot of that, like even the take on the unreliable narrator. Everything was like, yeah, this is totally the quirky thing we're doing right now, and it's funny because this is something that happens in film a lot. It's one of the reasons why, like, almost immediately I knew why you like this movie so much, Ashley. Like, it kind of highlights some of the absurdity in filmmaking, and be like, oh yeah, that's a funny thing.
I'm actually a huge fan of Shane Black's writing. For the listeners who aren't familiar with him, he did Die Hard, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Good Guys, Iron Man 3, and I'm not sure about Die Hard, but I will just plug my little fun fact now. All 3 of those other movies, he makes jokes about ficus plants. And I don't know why. And I think it's gotta be like an inside joke that he does to like make his friends laugh or something. But all of those movies, everything that Shane Black writes, except maybe Die Hard.
Yeah, it's probably something like him and his buddies were laughing about while stoned on something. And it's kind of just gone into movies. We do that all the time with the podcast, right?
I mean, we finally got to see Iron Man and Batman hang out.
Oh yeah, Val Kilmer. Yeah. Speaking
of Val Kilmer, I didn't think he'd be able to do it, but he can really deliver like a comedy line. Like his straight man is like top tier.
This is probably, like, I've seen this once, like ages ago. This is probably one of the funniest movies I have watched in a long time.
It doesn't hold back, and it came out at that golden age of when, I mean, people were just taking comedic chances and they didn't care so much about offending people. I mean, hell, even the name of Val Kilmer's character, Gay Perry, it's so funny to see that name go full circle, because when it came out, you're like, oh, Gay Perry, that's a rude nickname. And then I'd say like 4 years ago, it's probably like, people would be like, yeah, Gay Perry, it's empowering. And now, like, it might be circling back to that's a bit much again.
I do miss that kind of era of comedy. Like your Tropic Thunders, like, just go absurd. Do it. Humor is supposed to highlight absurdity and dark parts of reality. So if you shy away from it and you try to make it PC, that's the reason why things that become more politically correct become less funny in turn.
You need to push the boundaries, right?
No, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I'm being a little critical of things. It is my favorite movie. I rewatched it again right before the show. I've seen it so many times and it holds up every single time. And you're right, it came out right at that peak of just go for it comedy. And I miss that era so much. Like you're saying, Tropic Thunder, I mean Anchorman, Zoolander, until they made all of the horrendous sequels. It was like the best era for comedic movies. I do think we'll get back to it. I'm not sure if I should admit this. I don't know what your guys' opinion on it was, but I loved The Machine. I watched it twice. I would watch it a third time. I'm hoping to see more stupid comedies come out like that.
I've never even heard of this film.
Never heard of it.
Wait, what? Okay, segue. Let's talk about The Machine for a moment. That's Burt Kreischer's movie. I don't care. It was hilarious.
Oh, wait, yeah, that film came out like fairly recently, didn't it? Like last year?
Earlier this year.
And is it that same kind of feel, like edgy because you're pushing boundaries, not edgy because it's like, hey guys, look at me, I'm so edgy?
I mean, I just thought it was hilarious. There were 2 scenes where I felt like they were probably pulling a joke they could have made. But other than that, I don't know. I laughed. It was funny. Burt Kreischer takes his shirt off and fights a guy. Like, he's a live-action Homer Simpson, and that's all I wanted in a movie.
Just because you said edgy, I didn't find the movie edgy by today's standards, because today's standards are dumb. But I didn't find anything super edgy with the film. Not like, Tropic Thunder.
Both starring Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
I mean, he's an interesting guy because he's not one, like, even though he's a Disney guy, he still kind of keeps, I don't know, he's not really one to completely shy away from controversy. He's done so much to help the celebrities that have drug problems and stuff like that, just like Mel Gibson helped him. Although I do find it a little odd that he's trying to help Armie Hammer. I'm like, how do you rehabilitate somebody that claimed multiple times to be a cannibal? That's the one thing I'm like, okay.
Wait, did you say even though he's a Disney guy?
Robert Downey Jr., yeah. Marvel's Disney.
Oh, sorry, I was
And then he did Dr. Dolittle.
Disney is
and
Marvel, just like Disney does musicals.
Okay, first, I know about the Marvel thing. Second, Disney doesn't do musicals. And third, there is a long-standing amount of emotional, mental, and drug usage issues in Disney-related...
This podcast? No,
Disney-related actors. Like all your, like...
It's almost...
Oh, Mickey Mouse clubbers.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a terrible company that does terrible, terrible things. Actually, going back to the Mel Gibson thing and the Mickey Mouse Club thing, I think it's interesting that he helped Britney Spears quite a bit when she was struggling with drugs and everything before her, oh my god, I'm going to mess up the word, conservatorship? Conservator. Yeah, not like a field with wetland and birds, but like what they did to Britney. Yeah. So...
Put her out in a wet field with the birds.
What I was trying to say, though, is I think Mel Gibson would be a really interesting person to speak to. Not about a certain, religious group, but about everybody else. I bet he's got some stories.
It's kind of a weird place for a stand-up, but like Gibson, Downey, all the like the young male actors just talking about the dark side of Hollywood all the time. Such things actually being just straight up discussed in this film, but in a comedy sense. So when you're watching this, like the bad people in Hollywood, even the abductor assassin guys, the director, even Gay Perry, I'm just like these aren't good people, and a lot of them are just doing really crappy things to each other for the heck of it.
Hollywood. They grabbed the states by the East Coast, shook it, and all the people who couldn't hold on.
I mean, honestly, all Hollywood had going for it was the trashy celebrity culture of the 2000s and all of the comedies from that era. And as far as I'm concerned, now that they're too, I hate the woke word, but now they're too woke to do anything like that, I could care less about the mainstream movies that are coming out.
I think Mario was the last mainstream movie that came out. I'm like, yeah, I need to see this one.
That was a good movie, though.
It was a good movie.
I really enjoyed that movie. The thing about the woke term is, like, it's not only used as a pointed fact, but it's also used as a cudgel, but also as an excuse. So a lot of these films, they'll just come out with a terrible script with weak characters, and when it eventually fails, they'll just go, it's the bad people over there that didn't come see the film because it was too woke, and they were doing a campaign of some sort that no one's ever heard of, right? I mean, video games do it a lot more than films, but it's growing in the film side.
I think it's easier to see films. Video games are still surprisingly, like, as mainstream as they are, they're still kind of niche. And it's got and video games also have a thriving indie market, which may or may not have some of that, but it's pretty clear on the tin at that point. So it can become a bit easier to find the quality. Whereas Hollywood, everyone is almost too focused on their image, so it becomes overt. It's the reason why, no one's watching award shows anymore. Not that they were necessarily good to begin with. They just virtue signal because that's all they need. You don't get the same thing on the game side.
I would love to see as much of a thriving indie movie culture as there is indie game culture, but the avenue of distribution is so much harder because it's harder for them to get into these streaming services and to be pushed in the same way that indie game can. Yeah.
Well, Steam basically lets anything on, right?
I mean, like, I'm sure like Ashley's got some experience with that.
Well, I mean, distribution, funding, but also so many indie filmmakers are so eager to be part of the Hollywood machine, even though, like, we all know Hollywood's dying and it's not coming back, but they still hold on hope. So, they try to, again, using that terrible word, they try to, like, up-woke the other woke-ies. They try to be the wokest wokers. It's really frustrating because an indie film, it should be a medium for free speech and creative expression and unique viewpoints and everything, but so much of the same shit getting made in the indie film world too. And there are people that take creative chances, and I'm a huge fan of so many of those artists and I try to support them, but largely they fall into the same pitfalls as Hollywood filmmakers. It's very disappointing.
And you know what? I think it's image-based, right? So it has less to do with the activism aspect and has more to do with what's the hip thing. Yeah. It's like they're doing the hip thing they're wearing a sequin skirt, I'm going to wear a sequin full dress. It's the same thing, but with activism in these indie films, I feel like.
Yeah, you're very right.
Say what you need to and don't rock the boat because they have an image to maintain, regardless if that image is good or bad.
Ironically, it's the filmmakers that do have a unique voice and that are persistent that eventually make it. The ones that try to be like everybody else, they don't go anywhere. But unfortunately, they just cause so much noise that it kind of makes the rest of the indie film world look bad.
Yeah, it's pretty much drive, having a unique vision, or how much you like feet that kind of determines your levels of success in Hollywood. And that's one of the things that I think was really showcased well in this on the actor's point of view. So the entire reason why Robert Downey Jr. is in Hollywood is because he's got a potential role. Of course, the whole like escaping the cops thing was just kind of pushing him towards the story rather than being a real part of the plot, to be honest.
Yeah, it's fine at that point.
Yeah. When Gay Perry was like, it's because Colin Farrell's asking for too much. That's why they brought you out here. It seems to be, again, all about image, and it was the image of the producers and the casting directors going like, how can we lowball this guy? We can get someone, the up and coming, the hip person. Like even the casting's about image, it seems.
Everything about this film was very much pulling back the curtain in pretty much every way. It's like, yep, you know exactly why this no-name is here to audition for the role. Oh, look, this is what actually happens at the Hollywood party. Hey, look at this sex club with the living art. And like, it just, again, it's the quiet parts are being said out loud in this movie, 20 years ago, that all of a sudden it's like, oh, what? Hollywood's corrupt and directors may or may not trade sexual favors to give people roles? It's like, they call it right here.
Vague murders in between jokes about spoons, etc. Was there ever a time that you actually were like pursuing that dream, Ashley?
I did want to sell a screenplay. I naively thought, if I just write enough screenplays and stuff, enter enough contests, send enough query letters out, eventually. But no, I've since realized that they never get a script from an outsider. And that's not just a sour grapes thing, that's just the truth. The only movies that are getting made are by people that are already in the industry. Maybe if you're lucky and you're an assistant to the right person in LA or New York, maybe you can get one of your scripts through. But the odds of a nobody ever selling a script is just astronomical.
I don't know. You're not part of a screenwriter's guild right now. You can't be a scab if you're not part of the union.
I mean, truthfully, I'm grateful not to be a part of that crowd. Like, yes, I'd like the money, but I mean, it's not a world I want to be a part of. Although, like, the smutty Hollywood parties in the 2000s did look fun. I do think that was a better era. And if you're not the type to want to climb the ladder and you can just go to a party for fun without feeling obligated to blow a gross producer, then, it was probably good times.
That's just Hollywood, right?
Yeah, it's Hollywood.
When in Rome.
Remember, morality is subjective based on the culture you're within.
Maybe it's just because, I grew up in a hick town in the middle of nowhere and I didn't get to be a part of that fun culture growing up. But I hold that 2000s party scene with, like, Paris, Lindsay, and Britney very close to my heart. Like, that was peak pop culture as far as I and many other people are concerned. And it's sad what we have now. I mean, there isn't even much to satirize. How do you make fun of the same billion generic Instagram photos,
Let them know that the AI did it better.
Facts. I've seen that while scrolling Instagram, just like, oh, that's an attractive girl. Oh, that's another attractive girl. Wait a minute.
And it all blends together.
You gotta spark joy. I'd be like, does this Instagram spark joy?
You know what did spark joy for me though? Watching Kiss Kiss Bang Bang again.
I was looking for the and you got it back.
I was wondering, is this one of the first movies of that era to really lean on the blue and red and blue and orange color palette?
No. Michael Bay had been doing that well before then.
Before 2005?
Oh yeah. Bad Boys was like the 90s.
Oh, and he was really into that? Okay.
That's what Michael Bay is known for.
Yeah, I didn't watch. I was actually at a writer's group a couple of weeks ago, just testing the waters, seeing what it's like out here, and I had a speaker, and she kept saying sigh. Like, she would say something and be like, sigh, to the point where I think she wrote it into her script. It was a writer's group, but she was talking about taxes.
Oh,
And yeah, I should just be like, information for sigh. I'm like, you wrote those down. I counted 3 sighs.
but no more than
Anyway.
3?
No more than 3.
Oh, on the
The
ball.
third one should have gotten thunderous applause.
a hearty
All of a sudden,
chuckle
a Psy monster appears behind.
doing Gangnam Style. This definitely had the feel of like that early 2000s filmmaking, like the shot choices, where they were positioning the camera. Like there was a lot of this like weirdly up close, kind of over the shoulder 3/4 thing that I kept noticing. I don't know, it definitely is a film of its era outside of the comedy, even in that filmmaking. I'm making an assertive statement, but I'm the least knowledgeable about films here.
I think you're pretty right.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of around that time when that type of shot choice was starting to become prominent, and then just it's basically been that, or it's all jump cuts now.
In the 2000s, a lot of movies did have more of a voyeuristic view when they were filming women, and that would be known as the male gaze. And we don't have to get into feminism, but what Drew is describing, it was a very male gaze centric film. You know, you see less of it now, and it's so funny. I think Natalie Portman actually just came out and said she doesn't think the male gaze is real. I'm like, it's just stupid, because clearly heterosexual men and heterosexual women obviously view things differently. We're going to film things differently. And it's so ironic that somebody like Natalie Portman, the male gaze used to be something they would all champion, like, yeah, we need to stop it and we need more women in film, and now they're just saying it doesn't exist. Like, can the gaslighting stop, please?
I mean, that's been an argument for a long time.
I'm not even saying the male gaze is necessarily bad all of the time. There are scenes where it can be more leery. You're like, okay, why does the camera need to be on that teenage girl's ass for like a scene? It didn't. It could have been on her face. You know, that would be one clear example of the male gaze. I don't need to get into it.
No, I mean, I fundamentally like agree. If we're talking shot choices and directing, there's definitely a feeling of male gaze there. A good example of it, and it's the reason why I actually have a lot of appreciation with this film, because it was poking fun of everything, including itself. So in the scene where he's like kind of at naval level, and he kept seeing what's the I don't know any of the characters' names. What's the girl protagonist?
Harmony.
And he can see Harmony's nipple. Like there's just like this weirdly long scene about him, like he can see it and he's like excited but he doesn't want to look, sort of thing. So we were seeing inside his head like a real life situation that could possibly occur. We were like, oh, I totally, see this thing about this girl, be it something physically related, and you're like, I want to look, I don't want to look, I'm looking at it, I'm staring at it, I'm fixating. Like that's a series of process that occurs within men, and I assume it does within women, but we're showcasing men in this scene.
It was done in a way that, again, it was still kind of trying to show the good guy character that he was. That's how they were playing with that shot, is how I read it.
They did a good job with it, though. Like, yes, he was being the quote-unquote good guy, but that scene did a good job of setting that up.
He was fighting his inert toxicity of male gazeness.
Did either of you watch Peep Show?
No.
I think so, but I don't remember.
It holds up. Rewatch it, it's so good. But there's a scene in it where Jeremy, Mark and Jeremy are the main characters. They're both terrible people. There's a scene where Jeremy's in a club and he's just dancing. And he's like, yeah, I know all their secrets. She's got a vagina, and she's got a vagina, and she's got a vagina. And he's just staring at all the women, but like it reminded me of that a little bit. I just realized why more people probably don't like me, because I say these things that sound really critical, but I'm like, no, it's great, it's funny. They probably just think I'm complaining about everything, but really I'm like, no, but it's fine.
I think it's a vocal tone thing. Same reason why everyone thinks I'm from the West Coast and that I smoke weed.
We're not gonna stand up for you here.
Oh.
I know you're not from the West Coast because you call a hoodie a bunny hug.
You're not down with the bunny hug. You're not down with me.
I might get that custom printed on a shirt for you.
I'll wear it at the reinvigorated.
Oh, I'll talk to you about House of Fog after we finish recording. Don't cut that. Leave that in as a teaser for the audience. They'll be like, ooh, what's House of Fog?
Which is the exact same type of comment we would expect from our narrator in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
And back to that.
And again, why I like that movie, yeah.
I'm trying, guys. It's
Do you
hard.
feel like
Alright.
do you feel like the movie gave you a look inside my brain just a little bit? You're like, oh, okay, I understand now.
I now have a perspective that artistic films, through Ashley's lens, are viewed in the way of the narrator of this film. So, like, oh, they showed the dining hall in this opening scene, so obviously that's where the final showdown's gonna be. Like, just that kind of film analysis based on all the tropes that they were satirizing.
No.
Spot on.
Trope irony, technically, wouldn't it?
Speaking of the narration, I am very disappointed that they didn't kill 16 guys after the torture scene.
I was gonna say the same thing. There's like
There
only
wasn't
5
even
guys
16
died.
Yeah, there wasn't even 16 deaths in the entire film. So disappointed in that.
What an unreliable
But this-
narrator.
Right?
But the scene where he shoots that guy in the head is probably one of my favorite scenes in any movie ever.
With the Russian roulette part. Oh my god.
Yeah. The first bullet.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
On this show, can't have spoilers, Ashley.
I think the best acting moment in this was Robert Downey Jr. when he was shooting the first guy. Like when he's poking out of the bed and Buddy is like, "Oh, now you got a gun," and then he like shoots the bad guy, but he kind of like looks away, and he kept getting angrier and angrier, but he still couldn't watch as he was shooting. But there was just something about how he was hesitating and how he was looking that made it like a little bit more real for me. The only thing that took me out of it was your standard movie magic with your like whisper quiet silencers and
Yeah, the whisper quiet silence I can get by. It was the only like gunplay like that really threw me out was him managing to hit the driver in a moving car when it's like the third time he's ever fired a gun. That was pretty impressive.
But I mean, he's Iron Man, so what can he do? Remember, this was his first role before Iron Man. Like,
And this
he
is
came
what
back
got him.
after
And this is what got him Iron Man. too.
Yeah.
I do have to ask, because we've obviously mentioned Iron Man again. Was that a Gwyneth Paltrow cameo?
Which part?
Like when he goes to the club to meet Harmony after the party, first girl that he talks to, I could have sworn it looked like.
I don't think it was. I mean, I would love it if it was, but
Are you talking about the
look
stewardess?
this up.
Was she the stewardess?
Yeah, the girl who
I
comes
think she
back at
said-
the end.
I think she said she was. I can't remember. If she said she was the stewardess. Yeah, maybe that was her.
I'm gonna
Hey.
Google this quickly. I spelled almost every word wrong.
Like I thought it was her, but
Are you talking about
just
Flicka?
enough. Was Flicka's the one he slept?
No, that was a different one. Flicka was the first girl he talks to when he enters the club.
Oh, was it? Okay, then no, definitely wasn't. It just looked enough like, wait a second.
Yeah, Flicka's the one where he was like, "Oh yeah, I invented dice when I was a kid. I'm retired."
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Wait, no. I just keep finding things about Gwyneth Paltrow being in Iron Man with Robert
Yeah.
Downey Jr.
Oh, oh heck, we have our 7 stages of Dora the Explorer here. Ariel Winter was apparently in this film.
Oh, was she in the live action Dora the Explorer?
She was in a long like independent comedy sketch where she played Dora. I think it
That
was
they-
for College Humor.
That they then made the live action
okay.
movie, and it's a lot like the sketch.
Yeah, but I think
Did you ever watch it?
no, but they
We are going to be.
the girl that they cast was an actual like Spanish speaking girl. What's her name from the movie we liked?
Sicario too.
There we go.
Sicario one, yeah.
You know, you guys have your own show to run, but if you need, a special guest for the Dora the Explorer movie, I would definitely join you because I loved that movie. I went down like some dark paths, during the 2020 and 2022 times, and that movie brought me a lot of joy. I'm not even being sarcastic. That's just my voice.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Danny Trejo has a cameo. I can't tell you about it.
Was this kind of like how like Spy Kids is actually a really good movie, or was it Spy Kids 2?
And Spy Kids, I've heard again lots of good about. There's a reason why we have these movies like listed on a sideboard right now.
Well, Spy Kids is what Machete came from, right? So
Yep.
those Machete movies were all,
Same character.
Speaking
Can
of
you imagine a Disney remake of Machete?
see, that would probably be a musical. Speaking of spies, though, in Iron Man, there was Black Widow, who was a spy. And Iron Man was actually played by Robert Downey Jr., who was in the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
So plot point here. Most of the movie was pretty spelled out. They weren't hiding that. It was that very noir, very the heavy narration. I didn't see anything that was pointing me to a body double. Did I miss something?
No, the crime was secondary. The crime was barely even. It was barely even plot to keep the characters moving.
Right, because it's very specifically he calls it out in the narration. It's like, oh, she figured it out. Did you guys figure it out? It sat a little odd to me because it was the only thing. It's like, this is the only thing that hasn't been called out in some other way, or at least I missed it. Was there something there, as someone who's seen the movie way too many times, that I just didn't see?
It doesn't matter.
No, it matters.
No, but it really, like Drew just said, the crime is secondary. It's not important to the story, to the character development. He just a plot device.
It's important to the framing of the film.
I solved it though.
It should be like if it was a perfect movie, the crime would make more sense. It's my favorite movie, but it's not the perfect movie. Everything has its.
It's not about the crime making sense. It's again, it's just kind of about the rest of the setup in the film. Every other piece of narration had been backed up. You could see it happening. There was foreshadowing. This was based off of those mystery noirs where you should be able to feel it, and specifically because they narrated that when everything else they'd been narrating did flow and fit that piece. That's why it feels odd to me.
Having, worked very minor extent on big budget Hollywood movies.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Yeah, biggest eye roll ever. Anyway, there is a good chance that there were some scenes that were cut, or maybe an alternate, resolution to that crime. Because as shitty as it is, producers always come in and change things. And half the time it isn't even because it makes the movie better, it's just because they want to feel important. So the producers are like, oh no, I need to have my stamp in this movie. And it's really annoying and probably the worst thing about Hollywood.
Yeah, we call the hand of the producer here.
Yeah.
So there was a body double in the opening scene.
With Son Half you're talking about?
Yeah, what was the what was the length of time between that and him saying that, talking about like a scene you only see because it's going to become relevant later, like the cafeteria that becomes the place of the final showdown.
See,
I think you might have figured it out. I think it was subtle. There was probably a scene that was cut, and it was meant to go back to, because
that scene became relevant with Harmony. That's how I saw that scene coming back. That wasn't a body double as in like a twins type situation. Losing that mystery aspect, which is just feels weird.
There could be a cut scene where Harry, aka Robert Downey Jr., is doing a magic act, and it, as an adult, and it comes into play or something, and then they cut it because they're like, "This is weird. Why is he doing a magic act?" I don't know. I'm rambling.
Well, if I were to tinfoil hat it though, there was always a suggestion of 2, and there was a suggestion of change, right? So it could be as simple as Harold the Amazing versus Harold the Great. Very similar things, different. We have multiple shots of Harmony and her sister, and violence was being enacted on one but not the other. So it might have been too subtle for the nature of this film, but I think there is a valid reason there. It might not have, and it might be because of a cutscene that brought it all together, which is likely, but I think it's there. It's either cutscene or it was just not handled to the same rashness as the rest of the topics of the film.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it stands out to me so much.
That is a good observation. And like there are a lot of themes in the movie. I mean, not even themes, very overt examples of like pedophilia and incest with both of the fathers in the movie. The father of the actress and the father of Harmony when she was little. I mean, maybe there's a giant cut scene where Shane Black was going to reveal like a huge Pizzagate type conspiracy or something, and they're like, wow, this would perfectly summarize the movie, but we're going to cut this. And then that's why the crime felt secondary.
Well, I think it's definitely not as accurately depicting it as great films such as E.T., but I definitely see that underlayer of this, not shining a light, but exposing people to some of the corrupt nature of Hollywood. And people would have seen it less, or they would have made more joke of it before now, because there was a time where, like, people like just dismissed. What was it, Corey Haim, or the other Corey?
Yeah. Both of them.
Corey's.
Yeah, they like directly came out and said, no, there's a lot of abuse, especially on young boys in Hollywood. And there was an expose, and then 2 days later, everyone forgot. Whereas now, you flip a stone in Hollywood, and you're finding some creepo writer, producer, actor. So maybe it's just a lot more apparent. So maybe that's why it's even funnier. It was extremely funny to me because I'm like, that's totally true from my point of view.
You seem very correct. You guys were kind enough to invite me onto this podcast for your Christmas special, but we've actually talked very little about how Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a Christmas movie. And I just wanted to mention, okay, so Shane Black, he did Die Hard, he did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I don't think The Good Guys took place during Christmas, but Iron Man 3 did. He's got a thing where his movies almost always take place over Christmas. And I want to know if you guys think he loves the holiday or if it's just a marketing thing. Because, hey, two birds, one stone, you can get a Hollywood family movie out, if you just make it take place during Christmas. Marketing or joy of the season?
It's probably, legitimately, it's probably marketing. But if in relevance to this film, so there was 3 mentions of Christmas. But they were so subdued in backstaged things that it was more of a framing device for how self-obsessed everybody in the film was. It's the biggest holiday, second biggest holiday in the United States. I think Thanksgiving is considered bigger. Christmas Christmas.
So big they can't even have it on the right day.
More like no Thanksgiving, am I right? Oh. So yeah, it's one of the biggest events of the year, and as close to a Christmas party as they can get is just a girl in a sexy Santa outfit. Like, I definitely think the Christmas was a framing device in this.
Wait, is Mean Girls a Christmas movie too, by this definition?
No, because Mean Girls has a Christmas scene, but doesn't take
place
it's the
whole
Christmas.
School year.
This is a Christmas movie because it happens at Christmas. Yeah.
Mean Girls was only enhanced
we put
by
thought
a
into our
Christmas scene.
non-Christmas movies. Yes.
I think I could stick to this point. This is as much of a Christmas story as in our Festivus celebration this year that American Tail was a Hanukkah movie. I mean, unless anyone's got any counterpoints, I will deem it so.
I will let you deem it so.
Yes.
I'm sure Ashley will find a way to be contrary about it.
I was right for once. I'm gonna tell my mom. She'll be so happy.
I'm gonna let Drew have this one. I can't crush this bubble. Pop this bubble.
It's too much joy. Too much joy has been sparked. You're the Mary Kondo of feelings.
Oh no, this isn't a question. I just wrote, if they ever remake this movie or make a Johnny Gossamer spin-off, I will lose my tiny remaining last shred of hope for humanity.
I want to see the Johnny film.
Yeah.
There is 2 things that I want, or one thing I'd like to bring up. One remaining. This was probably the most subtle cell phone commercial I've ever seen. It showed custom ringtones. It showed the front-facing selfie camera. It showed voice command. And they had like a bunch of scenes of the up-close phone. And I was like, they do it so differently back in the day.
I was kind of impressed with the pseudo smartphone that wasn't a BlackBerry. The old Nokia candy bars.
I want a Sidekick 3 so badly. Badly. Still, they didn't sell them in Canada, so I've just always kind of fetishized it. Like, oh, the cool kids have that phone. Cool Americans.
Mm-hmm. I've got a couple of notes that I want to see. They had the 2 different B movies. I want to see them made. There's the B creature feature one, and then the really bad RoboCop ripoff. Those need to be films. Be amazing. Like Velocipaster.
Velocipaster. And Wolf Cop.
Yep. I think it's important to point out that we have to have our PSA of guys really don't get signals, even when she's literally naked on the bed saying, "Hey, you can come join me." Guys still don't get it.
No comment.
And the other point that really jumped out at me was the playing with the book stopping the bullet trope. I thought that was amazing.
Oh, that's so
see,
cool.
Look, I've got the book. Oh. Dialogue was really good in the movie. they would talk about that, but I don't know. Gotten so far off track. I honestly thought it was ad-libbed. Apparently it was written. Like, very little ad-libbing from what I could find.
Yeah, that's Shane Black's writing style. Like, honestly, he's a very efficient screenwriter. Like, there isn't a wasted scene in that movie. Every scene serves a purpose. And yeah, it's been fun. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm just gonna wander away.
Anyways, yes, it has been so wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Ashley. We appreciate you. You're the best.
I appreciate you guys. Have a happy holidays.